2 Super Bowl championships in 3 years for the Patriots. And they are now the dominant team in the NFL of the brand new century. 2 Super Bowls this century. Let's go!
After a disappointing 2-2 start to the 2003 season, the New England Patriots reeled off 12 straight wins, winning the AFC East and earning the number 1 seed in the conference. But it would be a daunting path through the playoffs to secure a second title, featuring 3 unforgettable games that would be every bit as dramatic as New England's first championship run. This is 2003, the super sequel, Part 2, the postseason.
Damon Heward will take the snap, go to one knee, and that is all she wrote for 2003's regular season. Now it's on to the playoffs as the Patriots try to make it 2 Super Bowl championships in the last 3 years.
The Patriots would face the 12-4 Tennessee Titans in the divisional round, led by co-MVP Steve McNair.
That is it. The Tennessee Titans have gone on the road behind Eddie George and co-MVP Steve McNair and that great run defense.
Coming off a wild-card victory over the Ravens, the Titans were a tough and experienced team, one that New England had beaten earlier in the year 38-30, the first win of their current 12-game unbeaten streak.
And despite the fact that the Tennessee Titans, Steve McNair threw for almost 400 yards, and Tennessee had almost 450 yards in the game, New England wins it by the count of 38-30.
But like the 2001 divisional round, weather would once again be a factor with Arctic cold in the forecast.
Deion Branch, Louisville.
I'll say the night before the games, as we go and do our walkthrough, some of these crazy behind defensive players that we have on the team, Mike Vrabel, Willie McGinest, Tedy Bruschi, all those guys outside with their shirts off, and they had a weather advisory for people to not be outside. And here it is, we're doing a walkthrough, and half of these clowns are outside with their shirts off. And Bill, it's just some of those things, man, the memories, you kind of think about those days, and that was a long time ago, man. And I'm very blessed to still have that great memory to think about those memorable moments, because that is what made this team, just having that opportunity to be on the field with those guys, just to do a walkthrough, shirtless, and everybody just like, Bill, this is what it is, we're going to face this.
Matt Chatham, linebacker and special teamer.
The guy that I would say is responsible for that is actually, just recently honored here, Mike Vrabel. So Vrabel is obviously known as a guy with an edge, a guy who loves to push the envelope, tough guy, smart guy, all those kinds of things. But, it's not as if at that point I hadn't played in a decent amount of cold games in my life, but this one was different than really any of us had experienced. And we had an in-stadium walkthrough the night before in Gillette, and Braves comes walking up out of the locker room without sleeves on, just with like the light sleeveless sort of practice T-shirt almost, and it's a helmet's only practice. But the rest of us are all bundled up in like 3 layers of thermal and sweats and gloves and hats and all that kind of stuff. And Braves is just like sleeveless, and like, let's roll. He's gonna go through this sort of 2-hour thing. And I'm like, oh man! But then it makes you kind of feel like a jerk for letting him go through that, or go through it alone. So his rationale was basically, it can't possibly be worse on Sunday than what I'm going to feel like now.
Scott Pioli, Patriots Director of Player Personnel.
It was the first time that it was too cold to breathe through my mouth, so I decided to try to breathe through my nose. And I don't want to get overly graphic here. Let's just say that everything was frozen, and it hurt the back of my head. It was so cold when you breathed in. But that was a really good Tennessee Titans football team. I'm glad we had them at home. Our team was built for our home venue at the time. And that showed up in that game, and then the next week against the Colts, because that was part of the goal. Be home, and that was something that Bill knew, right? Bill was a part of those Giants, and those Giants teams were built around, built for their venue, just like the Colts were built for their venue, so that Tennessee game, I'll never forget how cold it was.
The time is 8:01 and the temperature 5 degrees with a wind chill of -3.
Christian Fourier, University of Colorado.
I am from the West Coast. I played in Colorado, but I am not used to the cold. And this was next level, historically cold. I remember going to a ski shop down in Attleboro, and I was looking for one of those old school one-piece suits you see the bobsled team wear. I was trying to find something because like there's not a chance in hell I'm going to make it through this. I actually burnt my cleats. My cleats melted because I was putting them up next to the little those little burners that they have on the sideline, and my cleats burned. I had to change my cleats. In the end, it was really about just staying moving, and if you were actually playing, it was fine.
Karen Garigian, the Boston Herald.
I mean, they kept showing the thermometer on the field. It was like 20 below zero, and it was literally the heat was on, but it was still freezing in the press box, particularly if you were in the front row.
We were sitting here, and I wondered how many fans would stay away because of the low temperatures. But as I look around, not many people did stay away. They're here. They're excited.
Nick Fitzy-Stevens, Patriots fan and personality.
To go back to the Super Bowl, the New England Patriots were likely to have to go through the co-MVPs of the league. Let me repeat that. There was no cupcake schedule. There was no softie. There was no cakewalk. The Pats would have to defeat the co-MVPs of the season. They would get their shot to do it at home. And as it turns out, the tougher of the two games would be the divisional round game, a Saturday night affair against Steve McNair and the Titans.
McNair, quarterback draw. He has room and has the first down inside the 5. Blitz coming. Eddie George, first down and more. Demps saved a huge gain.
The conversation all week leading up to the game wasn't just how are they going to stop Steve McNair? How are the Patriots going to handle this awesome offense? It was how can they play football in legitimate Arctic conditions?
The opening kickoff at frozen Foxborough.
The conditions did little to slow down the Patriots offense out of the gate, with Brady hitting Bethel Johnson for a 41-yard touchdown strike to open the scoring.
Slot to the far side left with Givens to the near side right. He comes in motion, goes in motion from right to left. Brady in the shotgun, takes the snap on 3rd and 6. Time, fires down the middle, open, caught, touchdown, Patriots to Bethel Johnson.
The Titans would respond on their next drive, with McNair hitting big plays to Derek Mason and Drew Bennett. Then Chris Brown tied things up with a 5-yard run.
2nd and goal at the Patriot 5, we'll call it. They give us to Brown to the right, tries to cut it back left, and is brought down in. Now he got it into the end zone. Touchdown.
But the Pats offense would continue to hum early on, moving the ball on a second consecutive drive, only to see their reliable kicker Adam Vinatieri miss a 44-yard field goal as conditions continued to deteriorate.
Ball is on the far hash mark. The angle will be to the right for Vinatieri. And make it a 44-yard field goal attempt where they set it up. The ball down, the kick is up, it is on the way, and it is no good.
Tedy Bruschi, Arizona. Just so hard to score, when you get in elements, whether it's the snow in Miami or the freezing day, which is against Tennessee, was, it's going to be ugly. It's going to be back and forth. And why we won championships so often was just there were just 3 or 4 plays that we had players that made them consistently all the time. And then it was a multitude of players that could do that.
Deion Branch, Louisville. Unfortunately, during the course of the game, my guy Asante Samuels ended up having the frostbite. I mean, this was the craziest thing ever. I've never seen a guy with purple nails and stuff. And his toenails, his fingernails, Asante's from Miami. So, and I'm from Georgia. We're not used to that type of weather. But we went out and took care of business. All the other things will kind of get taken care of after the game.
As they had all season long, the defense stepped up, with Rodney Harrison making his first postseason interception for the Patriots on the very next play after Vinatieri's miss.
And McNair going to put it up. Going to go deep down the sideline. It is intercepted. Rodney Harrison. And Harrison is down at his own 43-yard line.
The offense would take advantage, putting together an 11-play, 57-yard touchdown drive to take a 14-7 lead that would hold into the third quarter.
And so the first half has come to an end here in Foxborough with a score at the half. The New England Patriots 14, Tennessee Titans 7.
I mean, McNair had a great year, but they couldn't get anything going. And, I think we stopped them in the end. There was a last-ditch pass up in the air. But, we just feel like we couldn't get beat when it was that cold. That's the confidence that we had.
Paul Perillo, Patriots Football Weekly.
2 really, really good teams. Tough, physical, defensive-minded, not a lot of mistakes. And, I remember Steve McNair being really at the height of his career at the time. He was co-MVP with Peyton Manning, and deservedly so. He had a great year then. And I just thought that the Titans played and acted so much like those Patriots teams did. You know, they didn't come in with a lot of flashy, toys that they were looking to throw it all over the place downfield. Like Indy had the high-powered offense. Tennessee played like the Patriots.
We talked to Jeff Fisher last night, and I said, what about your game plan on offense? And he looked at us and he goes, we've nailed it. We got it.
After struggling for 3 straight possessions, the Titans offense found a spark on their first possession of the second half, going 70 yards in 11 plays to tie the game up on an 11-yard touchdown pass to Derek Mason.
And a critical point in the ball game. 4.5 minutes to go, third quarter. Pats lead 14-7. Bennett far side left. Mason left slot. Calico near side right. McCarron's right slot. Direct snap to McNair out of a shotgun. Fires left. Caught by Mason. Breaks the tackle and he goes in.
The Patriots avoided disaster on their next possession after a Dan Graham fumble was recovered by the Titans near midfield.
2nd down and 7. Brady on a long count. Brady still calling signals. Spot pass right, complete to Daniel Graham. Going to get nothing. He is hammered down and a fumble on the play. Fumble on the play, and I think Tennessee has it.
Once again, the defense stepped up, forcing the Titans to go backwards and eventually punt. The back and forth continued, with neither team able to score until late in the fourth quarter.
McNair passes to the left to Wycheck. He's going to be hit and knocked down by Willie McGinest.
Sparked by a poor punt from the Titans, combined with a 9-yard return by Troy Brown, the Patriots needed just 13 yards to set up a 46-yard field goal attempt for Adam Vinatieri, with just over 4 minutes remaining in the game. Nick Fitzy Stevens.
As great as Adam Vinatieri's kick to win Super Bowl 36 was, and obviously the kick against the Raiders, 45 yards, kicking a cylinder block to get them to overtime, I got to say, Vinatieri's game-winning kick against the Titans, also pretty incredible because it's like negative 20 degrees outside. And yet Mr. Automatic, when it counts, drilled it.
Brian Kinchin will snap. 4:11 to go in the game. Tied at 14. Snap, ball down, kick up, on the way, and it is good!
Karen Garigian.
I talked to him about it after and playing in that kind of cold. And it's for a kicker, you're literally have to psych yourself up to kick a brick. I mean, the football is hard. The cold. It's just. And again, I don't know if I'd have the guts to, to inflict that kind of pain to win a game, but he did it.
This is for the New England lead on its way. And good.
And given the conditions, and again, it's not like the Snow Bowl and the blizzard where he kicked that. That's immortal, and that will, live the test of time. But I still think in below zero conditions, literally kicking a huge brick through the uprights from 40-something yards, I think that kick ranks up there too.
Adam Vinatieri hits a 46-yard field goal with 4:06 to play, and the Patriots take the lead 17-14, and now it is up to the defense.
The Titans would get one final crack at a comeback and started to find their stride, quickly moving the ball from their starting field position at their own 24-yard line. They'd get as close as New England's 33 before intentional grounding and holding penalties set up a 4th and 12 from New England's 42 to decide the game.
4th and 12 for Tennessee, just outside their own, the Patriots' 42-yard line. Ball is on the near hash mark. Tennessee is trying to go right to left. The Patriots defense has to make one more play, and they've got to make it right here and right now. And if they do, they will advance to the championship game.
I'm not sure where he is in this world right now, but I would like to offer heartfelt gratitude to former Titans receiver Drew Bennett, who drops out what was sort of like a Hail Mary heave-ho on 4th down by the Titans to basically put them back in field goal range with like less than a minute to go, and he dropped it.
McNair takes the snap. Back to throw the blitz. He lets it go, and it is called incomplete. Incomplete. The ball was knocked out of the hands of Drew Bennett, and the Patriots will advance to the AFC Championship game with 1:38 to go. Tennessee with no timeouts left. Patriots defense needed to make one more play, and they made it.
Paul Perillo and the Patriots showed you that they can win games whatever style you wanted. That was the beauty of the first dynasty, especially. Whatever way you wanted to play, they would find a way to win. And, of course, in the end, how do you win it? Adam Vinatieri, because he just never missed when he had to make it.
You know he's got to come through. You know he's got to come through.
Just like that, the Patriots prevailed and were moving on for a date in the AFC Championship against Peyton Manning and the Indianapolis Colts.
Gillette Stadium is alive and kicking for today's AFC Championship between Indianapolis and New England. The Colts are great road warriors at 8-1. The Patriots perfect at home at 9-0. But all that matters is what happens here today. One of these teams is 60 minutes from the Super Bowl.
For a second week in a row, the Patriots would face one of the league's co-MVPs as Peyton Manning and the high-flying Colts offense made their way to snowy Foxborough for the conference title game.
Christian Fourier, University of Colorado.
I want to say it's the first time ever a team had to beat back-to-back co-MVPs, right? So you had Steve McNair MVP, Peyton Manning MVP. I think that's a little sneaky good little nugget, because I don't think any other team has ever had to do that before. Go through the playoffs and beat two MVPs, not one, but two.
Peyton Manning in the two playoff games is 44 of 56, 77% passing, 681 yards in 2 games, 8 touchdowns, no interceptions. They haven't punted in 2 playoff games.
I don't think that we were nervous about them. I think we had kind of cracked the code with beating them. Defense, I remember, here's what I do remember, that Damon Heward got the game ball in the locker room afterwards because he did such a good job of mimicking Peyton Manning. Everything. It was, and if you were a scout team guy like I was, every now and then we had to share those duties. Even if you were starting or playing, you still would jump in. Everybody had to really commit to playing their role, listening to the signals, motioning, chipping, shifting, and really painting a picture so the defense could thrive that day. And they did. I thought that the game was won during the week, honestly, at least from the defensive side of the ball, because of how good Heward was at playing Peyton Manning.
Paul Perillo, I think that, we probably should backtrack a little bit, because that game in Indy was so important for a lot of different reasons. People look at the goal line stand. They remember the goal line stand, and they're like, wow, that was unbelievable. I don't think people to this day understand the ramifications of stopping the Colts 4 plays from inside the 5 the way they did.
4th down, 15 seconds to go. The handoff to Edger. And stop! He is stopped! Willie McGinest made the stop at the 1-yard line! Would you believe it?
If the Colts score a touchdown on that play, this game is in Indianapolis. You saw what happened when they played in Indy. It's 38-34. You can see the contrast in the style of game that's played in January in Foxborough on grass as opposed to in the dome at the time with artificial turf. Just an enormous goal line stand in the last play by McGinest on Edgerrin James to stuff him. That's the difference between hosting and traveling in the AFC Championship game. The Colts had no shot in this game.
Nick Fitzy-Stevens.
This is a team, Peyton Manning's Colts, who the previous week in the divisional round didn't punt. Kind of like the way Buffalo didn't punt against the Patriots a couple of times in the 2021 season. Peyton Manning and the Colts did not punt. They couldn't have come into Foxborough more motivated, more focused, more fired up, and more offensively charged. And Belichick and the elements.
I think this is not a game of finesse. And with these kind of conditions, it's hard to play a finesse game. It's more of a smash-mouth game, and that's where the Patriots have the edge.
While the game day conditions were not quite as frigid as they were against the Titans, they still suited the Patriots as wet snow fell throughout the game, providing a perfect home field advantage.
Much has been made about the fact that the Colts are a dome team. They're 8-1 on the road this year, including the playoffs. But the weather, with some snow and cold temperatures, does have to have a little bit of an effect on the way they play their game. Oh, I got to believe it as well. But once again, the Patriots, I think, will adapt to it better for good reason.
Scott Pioli.
The weather was right for us for what we wanted to do, what we had to do. There was a game plan. The coaches put together a great game plan. The players did an even better job of executing the game plan, in terms of putting the pressure Peyton was visibly uncomfortable throughout the game. There's no doubt.
Here's the rush. Sack. Jarvis Green's got him back at the 25-yard line.
We went into that game, I remember feeling that our players were borderline angry and confident, right? It was a good confluence of anger and wanting to prove some stuff. And they did. And they knew that we had the right circumstances in order to do that. And I just remember, I felt like at the end of that game that we had beat them up, right, physically, and that was the team that we had become and were beginning to be more of.
Tedy Bruschi, Arizona. To have a mental edge on a player and to almost know him inside and out, because when you play Peyton Manning, it's a team. It's not. We believe that it wasn't truly physical; it was more intellectual. And we had players that were as tough as nails that could still think with the best of them. And whatever adjustments and plans that Bill wanted us to have, it was almost, okay, let's dare them to run the football because we don't think they will. And, they didn't, and they still wanted to throw it. Peyton tried to be who he was. He wanted to win it all himself, and we wouldn't let him do it.
Deion Branch, Louisville. I think the biggest talk was Tom Brady versus Peyton Manning. And I think all the guys and we all corralled with one another. That has always been the talk throughout the years with those two individuals. And I think it always boiled down to Tom Brady's support system. The guys around him, the game preparation. We wanted to make sure that Tom Brady got the up on Peyton Manning. That was the only thing that matters to us. We're going to make sure our guy ends up at the top regardless of what happens. We wanted to make sure that Tom Brady got his just due. You get what I'm saying? He's the greatest quarterback to ever play the game of football. And that was our whole motto. The game preparation was simple. We knew exactly what they were doing defensively. We knew exactly what they was going to do offensively. So it was just all about us going out executing the plays.
Dominic Rhodes back at the 4. Adam Vinatieri kicking off right to left. Kickoff is away, end over end, and coming down to Rhodes at the 11. Heads to the middle of the 15, right to the 20, and banged at the 25 and down at about the 27-yard line. What a solid pop. I believe it was Chris Akins who had the first hit.
The Patriots quickly showed they came to play in all three phases. The offense took the ball 65 yards on their first possession for an opening score.
Brady fakes the pass left, now fires left, wide open, touchdown, David Gibbons! Tom Brady pump faked the slip screen left and then fired it into the end zone to Gibbons. And the Patriots take the opening drive and go 65 yards.
While the defense quickly grabbed interceptions on both of the Colts' first two times with the ball.
Fires to the end zone, intercepted in the end zone by Rodney Harrison. Throws downfield, it is intercepted! Picked off by Ty Law. He's at the 40-yard line of the 41. What a great play by Ty Law.
Both times those takeaways were turned into field goals as the Patriots built a 13-0 lead. Then, things got even worse for Indy as a high punt snap was kicked out of the end zone by punter Hunter Smith for a safety that made it 15-0 Patriots at halftime.
Hunter Smith had his 20 to punt for the Colts. First time in the postseason they've been forced to punt. Patriot defense immense on that series. Smith averaging 42.5 yards a punt. High snap over his head. Ball going back to the 5-yard line. Kicked out of the end zone for a safety by Hunter Smith.
Tedy Bruschi, Arizona. Ty made plays. Rodney's making plays, and all of a sudden it's just that we got you again, and we felt good about. I always felt good about beating the Colts. I mean, it was only like. It was like that movie, The Outsiders, the Greasers versus the Socias. We were like the dirty, grimy type of team, and they were the fancy kids, so it always felt good beating those guys.
Matt Chatham.
One of the real heroes for us back then was Roman Pfeiffer, because Fife's role would go from his normal stuff to where he was wire to wire generally, because he was really good in coverage and just sort of played really well in space and was kind of our guy that did that best. So when it was going to be a Colts week, it was going to be a lot more him, and I'm a guy who steals reps, for rundown stuff and run-heavy games. It's never going to be that against the Colts. So I'm just in special teams only mode. But from Brew to Fife holding stuff down the inside, and Willie and Braves being disruptive as always. I mean, it's a really good combination to go after those guys, and we understood them really well. And I think again, it put together some of the best. Not just the execution, or not just the game plan is sort of thought up, but then the execution of those game plans, it was an all-timer.
The Colts would make a push with an opening drive touchdown to start the third quarter, but Tom Brady and the offense continued to do just enough tacking on 3 more Vinatieri field goals to keep pace ahead of them.
Manning out of the shotgun. Rhodes to his left in the backfield. Big 4th down. Direct snap to Manning. Standing in there. Fires to the right. Intercepted. Ty Law at the 20. Back to the 25. Heading to the right. Is going to be hit. Springs away from that one at the 30. At the 30-yard line goes Ty Law. His 3rd pass interception of the game.
A 3rd and final Ty Law interception destroyed any comeback attempts, as New England's all-time defense put up an all-time performance to cap off one of the most impressive defensive seasons in NFL history.
Paul Perillo. It comes down to Rodney Harrison and Ty Law. You know, 2 guys that just made the plays when they had to make the plays. And to the Colts' credit, that day, at least they fought back. I think the following year in 2004, I think they sort of had a resignation that we're not beating them here. We're not beating them in this situation. But that 24-14 loss in 2003, I give the Colts credit for continuing to fight, but the Patriots were just tougher, and I think that was the bottom line.
These guys never quit. They play hard. And then the final quarter, when they had to make a defensive stand, they did. Yep. And forced the 4 straight incompletions by Manning, and then hung on for the win.
Karen Guregian.
There's no question that Belichick, his schemes, how he attacked Manning, how he moved guys and disguised guys, it was in Peyton's head to start.
And Bill Belichick and his staff, Romeo Crennel, coming up with a brilliant defensive game plan, intercepting Manning 4 times, holding this team to 14 points as they held Tennessee last week to 14 points.
And again, Peyton is one of the most cerebral, intelligent quarterbacks you'll find. And yet, you know, for the first 5 to 10 games of going against the Patriots, he had no clue what the heck was going on. And they made him look bad.
Peyton's place is in New Hampshire, isn't it?
Well, it's
Peyton's
it's
place
not
is not in Foxborough, I'll tell you that, because now he is 0-5 coming to Foxborough.
Nick Fitzy Stevens.
This is one of the all-time defensive performances by the Patriots, and I'm sure anytime Peyton Manning ever came back to Gillette Stadium, even if he wasn't on the field, he probably looked out and thought Ty Law was just going to pop up and snag one on him. But they just won the AFC Championship. Holy smokes. The Pats are going back to the Super Bowl. I can't believe this. The Patriots are going back to the Super Bowl. I never thought I'd see them win 1 Super Bowl in this life. Now they have a chance to win a second one in 3 years. Get out of here.
Brady takes the snap, goes to one knee, and that's all she wrote.
Ta-da!
The final score.
Hey!
The Patriots 24.
You didn't say.
The Indianapolis Colts 14. The fireworks go off. The crowd goes wild.
Yeah, you happy
We're
now?
into the Super Bowl. Hey! We love you. Second time in 3 years, the Patriots go to the Super Bowl.
Here we go, guys. Here we go.
For the second time in 3 seasons, the Patriots were back in the Super Bowl. But this time things were different, as the team had gone from double-digit underdogs against the greatest show on turf in Super Bowl 36 to touchdown favorites over the Carolina Panthers in Super Bowl 38. Charlie Weiss, offensive coordinator.
Normally I give credit to Bill and the coaching staff, but in this case, I like to give credit to the players. We had such a great veteran group in that locker room that kept everyone keyed in on what was important. You know, we very seldom had problems, and, you know, very seldom, because the veteran players really ran the locker room. In any championship caliber team, you need to have a championship locker room, and we had one.
Matt Chatham.
Guys that were there for the 3 or 4. We have that point of reference with the first one, you know, where there was the 9/11 year, and we didn't have the week between. So you win the AFC Championship game, you're rushing back to Foxborough and then jumping right back on a plane once you can get your bags, basically. So you're into the week. There's no sort of absorbing it all and getting to do the Super Bowl experience. It was just such a whirlwind. You kind of feel like you're there, and next thing you know, it's the kickoff to start the Super Bowl. It feels that fast. The Houston one was more, okay, this is what's normal like. It's sort of a week of pageantry back home where you're still working for sure, but there's more of the the extended buildup, and then you go down to the city and, get to experience it a little bit, but obviously keep your head deep in the playbook and all that. I think that was probably the biggest difference for us. We actually got to experience a Super Bowl as more per usual.
Christian Fourier, University of Colorado.
Here's what I remember from that, very clear as day. Not necessarily the game, okay? It was the lead up to the game. It was the locker room before the game. It was the Bills pregame speech. Now, I've been in a ton of locker rooms, and most coaches, the rah-rah speeches don't work because they're all pros. And Bill's not a rah-rah. I would never say the hair on the back of my neck stood up when Bill was speaking, pregame. The message was always clear, and I really appreciated that because I needed direction. What do you want us to do? How do you want us to approach this game?
Nick Fitzy Stevens.
I remember Warren Sapp saying in some interview somewhere that he thought this was going to be an absolute lopsided affair and the Panthers would dominate the Patriots because no way the Pats line and this Russ Hochstein guy could possibly ever protect Tom Brady from one of the best defensive lines in recent NFL memory.
That whole week, the Carolina Panthers were talking a lot of smack. And Bill was adamant about not saying anything back, staying quiet. We're going to let our play do the talking. And he was really, really, consistent with that message throughout the week. And so, okay, we're just letting it go, but we're all irritated by it. But we can't say anything. We have to wait till Sunday. So Bill, before we actually took the field, I remember he all stood there and he just gave what I thought was probably the most, for me, inspiring pregame speech I've ever been a part of, because it was, now I'm paraphrasing now for him because I don't exactly remember what it was, but I heard, it's personal now. They've been talking all week. They've been doing all this. Now it's our turn. And it was almost like, hey, listen, I know, go get them.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the AFC champion New England Patriots.
We wanted to punch them in the face. We wanted to literally fight them. It was almost like he gave us the green light to go fight.
72,000 folks on hand for Super Bowl 38, which is about to begin.
Super Bowl 38 began as a physical defensive struggle with a missed 31-yard field goal by Adam Vinatieri on New England's first possession, serving as the closest either team got to putting any points on the board.
So Vinatieri from 31 yards. Kicked on the way, and he pushed it to the right.
Otherwise, the two teams combined for 8 straight punts before all hell broke loose in the second quarter.
A 36-yard attempt for Adam Vinatieri. Far hash mark angled to his left. Ken Walter to hold. Brian Kinchin to snap. The ball is down. The kick is up, and it is blocked. Third down. And 12. Carolina at their own 25. Davis, the lone running back behind Jake Delhomme. Drops back to throw. Here comes the pressure. Hit. Fumble. Ball on the ground. Let's see who has it. Patriots recover at the Carolina 19.
After an earlier miss, Vinatieri had a second field goal blocked. But just 3 plays later, Mike Vrabel forced a fumble that Richard Seymour recovered deep inside Carolina territory, setting up the first score of the game as the Patriots broke the stalemate on a 5-yard touchdown pass to Deion Branch.
Goal. Waited for another time. At the Carolina 5. Antoine is the running back. In motion left to right goes Daniel Graham. Brady, play action fake, fires, end zone, touchdown! Touchdown, Deion Branch! Patriots grab the lead.
The Panthers responded, hitting 3 big plays before Jake Delhomme found Steve Smith for a 39-yard touchdown.
Behind the quarterback, Jake Delhomme on 3rd down and 10. He drops back to throw. He looks, fires to the left. It is caught! Touchdown! Carolina to Stephen Smith.
Just like that, it was 7-7, with but a minute 14 left in the first half and still 2 more scores to come.
Brady out of a shotgun, 2nd and 10 at his own 34, takes the direct snap, rolls out to his left, steps up, looks, shoots it down the field, in stride, Deion Branch to the 15-yard line, first down Patriots.
A quick 53-yard pass to Branch helped set up a second Patriots touchdown on a drive that took just 49 seconds.
Smith is the running back with a slot to the near side left. Brady play action fake, end zone, touchdown! Touchdown to David Gibbons!
But the Panthers would need just a 12-yard kickoff return and a 21-yard run by Stephen Davis to set up a 50-yard field goal by John Casey to finally cap the first half at 14-10 Patriots, with all 24 points being scored in the final 3 minutes and 10 seconds of the second quarter.
Here we had a tight 0-0 ball game in the first quarter. We're wondering what is going to be happening with this game if these two guys are in a slugfest and nothing's going to happen as far as scores and points. And here all of a sudden, driving the length of the field to get 2 touchdowns and also get a field goal opportunity, and all of them being successful.
But that back and forth ending was a precursor to one of the more memorable halftimes in NFL history. Nick Fitzy Stevens.
There are so many memorable moments from Super Bowl 38 that had nothing to do with the game itself. You had the halftime show and the Justin Timberlake, Janet Jackson.
And coming up, the Janet Super Bowl video. Does she plan to expose herself? The answer is on the way.
And then, of course, there's Matt Chatham tackling the streaker, which we didn't get to see on live TV. Later on, the All-22 film would make its way to social media, and we could see it. But we heard tale of a streaker running onto the field, and Chatham on special teams just absolutely laying the guy out and becoming kind of an iconic legend in these parts.
Matt Chatham.
I think what made that a little different, especially even now where you see, people run on the field all the time and pick a sport, soccer, football, baseball. It's relatively common, but it was a little different back then because, like I mentioned, the 9/11 stuff was 2 Super Bowls prior, but we were in the middle of a war at that time. Security is crazy high because at that time there's all these threats on, big venues, right?
And we have a gentleman who ran on the field doing some kind of a step dance.
Wait a while. He just doesn't have much attire on.
Very
either.
little clothing on.
So we're kind of in the middle of the field there. And just remember, as it's starting to happen, we're kind of all looking at each other. And you can see it from some of the NFL films, sort of replay cuts of it, where we're kind of looking at each other like there is kind of like a WTF to this. Like, what is this? Like, is that just a streak or is it not?
And here come the security people. And this guy is going to be tackled. Oh, yeah. He's at the 40, 45. He's at the 50. And he's knocked down by a member of the Patriots.
There's not supposed to be anyone within, anyone anywhere near here. We're in supposedly the most secure place on earth at this moment. But we weren't. It's sort of like you've been conditioned a little bit to have this heightened sense of fear is the wrong word, but just like curiosity about, oh no, what's this, So, and then, then when it's like, okay, maybe there's no danger here, it's like, get this jackass out of here. We have a game to win. And I think it was sort of, first half of it was that, and then once you realize, oh, this is just one of those guys, you're kind of like, man, I want to win a ring today. Get this clown out of here. It was really more about that. You beat it. We've got another goal in mind.
And that was
Chatham?
Matt Chatham. The players see something like that and they're saying, come on, we've got a world championship we're playing for here, and some bozo decides to come out with a bikini briefs and dance around at the 40-yard line.
The third quarter looked a lot like the first quarter, with no scoring and a combined 4 punts. Injuries to New England's secondary began to add up, with starters Rodney Harrison and Eugene Wilson both leaving the game. As the fourth quarter began, New England extended their lead to 21-10, with an Antoine Smith rushing touchdown.
First and goal to go for the Patriots at the Carolina 2. They break the huddle. Seymour, the fullback, Smith, the tailback in the eye, the handoff to Antoine Smith to the right. He is in! Touchdown, Antoine Smith!
But that's when the Panthers started to heat up, targeting New England's battered secondary.
Inside handoff to Deshaun Foster, breaks a tackle at the 30, and left side at the 20, at the 15, at the 10, at the 5, and in. Touchdown, Deshaun Foster.
Then, off a Brady interception, an 85-yard touchdown strike to Muhsin Muhammad.
Play action faked alone. Stands in there, he's got time, looks, shoots it long and deep, his man is open. He's got it at the 30, at the 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, Carolina. They take the lead.
Suddenly, for the first time since mid-November, the Patriots were losing.
Paul Perillo, a shootout broke out in the middle of a defensive standoff. No one really sniffed scoring, at times in that game. And then all of a sudden, I think injuries really hurt the Patriots in the secondary. I felt like, Rodney breaking his arm. And then you have, people remember Sean Mayer out there with the Super Bowl on the line. And, he was a hard-working, I think, undrafted rookie out of Penn State, I want to say, special teamer. And to the Panthers' credit, it's good coaching. I think that they targeted him Ricky Prohl, made some big plays. And Jake Delhomme, I think, quite honestly, played the game of his life. I think he was really good that night. Brady, save for one mistake, that red zone pick was probably as good as he had been in that kind of an environment. A truly special Super Bowl that had a lot of twists and turns.
Tedy Bruschi, Arizona. Yeah, you talk about feeling like they can't score anything on us because we're that good defensively. Man, we can't stop these guys. And this is where I learned about defenses in the Super Bowl getting gassed. And we as defensive players play on emotion. And we go out there the first 3 plays and we feel like we're floating, and you go out to the bench and it's like, I don't even know what happened out there, man. I mean, you're just so geeked and emotional. It's different on the offensive side of the ball. So come the end of the third quarter and the fourth quarter, you're spent. You're spent physically and almost emotionally too, so it's hard. And that's what really showed for both of the defenses, for the Panthers and the Patriots, our defense, because we weren't stopping Delhomme. Our guys were going down. Rodney breaks his arm, and we still give him a hard time about not finishing that Super Bowl, actually. But, yeah, so in terms of fatigue, that's when I started to learn that you better be ready to go fourth quarter, because there's a pretty good chance that defenses are going to be gassed.
Matt Chatham.
The pace of the game that you kind of talked about, I mean, that was one of the weirder ones. And, again, I think in Super Bowl history, because the first half was just a slugfest. It was not a lot of scoring. It was really great effort, I guess, maybe both sides. And then I think my argument would be more so for injury. We got banged up really badly on the back end with a couple big injuries, and they did a good job of adjusting, and it became a bit of a shootout in the second half. So, it's being prepared to overcome whatever it is that comes your way, and that was kind of always Bill's big preaching point with us, and we handled it that day. But it was a blast, and it's a cool feeling, but it was a stressful one.
Deion Branch, Louisville. Coach Belichick harped on that all week. Those 2 weeks of preparation. You know what I'm saying? Stay a course, fellas, and understand that once the game settles, then we'll get to see who's going to do what. You get what I'm saying? Early on, there's going to be so much emotion, everybody's super hyped. The fans are going crazy. I started out super slow. Halftime, and then we come back out, and here it is. It's just bombs going off left and right. And I think it's just all about who's going to be the last man standing, who's going to sustain the fight.
Down by 1, Brady and the Patriots offense put together a methodical drive, with David Givens coming up with big play catches of 25 and 18 yards.
Back to throw, rolls to his right, looks, fires to the right, wide open inside the 30, down to the time, flying out of bounds on the near side, at about the 23-yard line on the reception to David Givens. Direct snap to Brady, drifts to his right, looks, fires to the right, caught at the 5-yard line and down to the 2-yard line. No, he called him out of bounds at the 3. Goes David Givens.
Linebacker Mike Vrabel would grab his first Super Bowl touchdown catch of his career.
Second down and goal to go at the Carolina 1.5-yard line. They break the huddle with 3 tight ends. Seymour, the fullback, offset right, play action fake. Brady fires, touchdown! Touchdown in the end zone to Mike Vrabel! Tom Brady, 1.5 yards to Mike Vrabel. Patriots take the lead.
And Kevin Falk would take a direct snap on the 2-point conversion to reestablish a 29-22 lead.
Brady will go for a 2-point conversion. Falk is his running back to the left, slots to both sides for Tom Brady in a shotgun. It goes a direct snap to Kevin Falk, and he runs it in. Direct snap to Kevin Falk, and he ran it in for a 2-point conversion.
Charlie Weiss, offensive coordinator.
Actually, we had studied in the offseason. We were working on 2-point plays and trying to go through, what can we do that are exotics that would give us the best chance to carry over from week to week so that when you ever need to pull it out of the bag, it's ready to go. So, this was one of the ones because of Kevin's hands, because you couldn't count that the snap was going to be perfect every time. But Kevin had such great hands. And, between him catching the ball and the quarterback faking like it went over his head, it actually was an easy play for us to carry over from week to week and use it whenever we needed to use it.
But the Panthers didn't blink and continued to attack a decimated Patriots secondary. hitting plays of 19 and 31 yards, with Delhomme finding Ricky Prohl for a game-tying touchdown.
Out of a shotgun formation, Delhomme takes the snap, fires to the end zone. Touchdown, Carolina!
Nick Fitzy-Stevens.
The crazy thing about this fourth quarter comeback by the Panthers was the person who caught the touchdown that tied the game for the Panthers is the exact same person who caught the touchdown pass from Kurt Warner in Super Bowl 36 to tie things up at 17-17 before Brady's drive, the Troy Brown catch, and ultimately Vinatieri's 48-yard field goal. Ricky Prohl will forever remain a famous, almost infamous, but a famous name in Patriots history. Twice in a Super Bowl, with less than 2 minutes left, he catches a touchdown pass for the Patriots' opponent to tie the game, and then ultimately watch the Patriots drive the field and have Adam Vinatieri hit an over 40-yard game-winning field goal. You can't script this stuff.
Once again in the Super Bowl, Tom Brady took the field late in the game with the score tied and the opportunity to win a championship with a scoring drive. It was another moment that would define the most clutch quarterback in NFL history.
Brady out of a shotgun formation. Brady awaiting the snap. He's got it. Drops back to throw. Looks. Fires. Caught. First down. Carolina 23-yard line. Caught by Deion Branch. First down Patriots. Carolina 23-yard line. 8 seconds remaining in the game.
Having already missed 2 field goals, Adam Vinatieri lined up a 41-yard kick with a chance to win a second Super Bowl on the line. But with a long snapper off the street, the kick was far more tenuous than the one Vinatieri had nailed in Super Bowl 36.
Now Adam will try to win it. 2 years ago, he won it on a 48-yard field goal against St. Louis. Tonight at 29-29, he'll try to win it with about a 41-yard field goal against the Carolina Panthers.
Scott Pioli.
Remember how the end of our season went, where we lost Lonnie Paxton, and then we had Sean McDermott, not the Buffalo Bills Sean McDermott, but the other Sean McDermott, the long snapper. He gets hurt too, and we called Kitchen, and again there was this whole story that I knew about that was unfolding hour to hour before the game, pregame meal. You know, Kitchen had the yips on Thursday night. He called me up to his room and wanted to go home. I'm like, dude, you can't go home. And I told Bill, and there was just this, you don't find a long snapper. It's not like you're going down to the Sunoco and getting a new spark plug in the middle of January and February. And then as the games unfold, in pregame, I don't know if you know the story, but he was, again, buttering a roll or cutting a roll, and he slipped, allegedly, and sliced open his hand. I mean, it was like, I remember Izzo and Vrabel telling the story, like, their language was a little bit more colorful than mine, but they couldn't believe it. And he's got to snap some pretty important snaps at the course of that game, including the game winner. So along with the crazy that you're talking about, there was the in-game normal crazy that the world knew about. Then there was this other crazy that was in the back of my head. Is like, if he was playing the team that had cut him, and Bill and I were, and Ernie had all been together with him in Cleveland, there was a lot going on.
Brian Kitchen will snap. Ken Walter will hold. The spot is the 41-yard line near hash mark. Angle will be to the left for Adam Vinatieri. A pulse-pounding finish to Super Bowl 38.
My only concern was the snap. The snap and the ball getting back to Ken Walter. Adam was money. He was money.
Adam Vinatieri, kicker.
We had another holder or another snapper that got hurt, and then Brian Kitchen, who was retired, came in. Bill knew him from earlier in his career, and he comes in, and he had a little bit of issues. He ended up cutting the webbing of his finger in the pregame meal, buttering a roll with a steak knife. I don't know how that happens, but long story short, and the whole week we had some trials and tribulations, a little bit of craziness that went along. So, yeah, there was a lot of extra circumstances that went into that game. But, Brian's best snap of his career was the game winner. It was bang, right on point. It was perfect. But I think the the good performers at any kicking or a pitcher or whatever, if you're a closer and pitcher and somebody hits a home run and you lose the game, you got to forget that, right? Because you're going to be out there again and 2 days later, and if you're still thinking about that, you're going to have some issues. And I think the best ones can clear their mind. And don't get me wrong, it's not easy to do. I mean, you're having a tough game or you miss a kick. Gosh, I mean, I remember the misses way more than I remember the makes. I really do. I mean, they just grind on you a little bit more because you're like, why the heck did I miss that, So, yeah, having a miss earlier in the game and having one blocked earlier in the game, I'm sitting there going, oh, my gosh, But you have to be able to walk out there at that particular time and go, clear your mind, and really just focus on the next second and a half, what's happening in front of you. And it's sometimes easier said than done. The ones that can't do it usually aren't around very long.
Angle to the left, 41-yard field goal attempt coming for Adam Vinatieri. Snap, ball down, kick up, kick is on the way, kick is good! Kick is good! Adam Vinatieri from 41 yards away! 4 seconds left, Patriots lead 32-29. 4 seconds left. Adam Vinatieri with the money on the table bangs it through.
I won't repeat what Ernie Adams said to me because Ernie knew what was going on too. Ernie and I always had this great relationship where there were moments where there was absolute intensity, as we sat next to each other. But then there were some Ernie's funny. People don't understand how funny Ernie Adams is. And he looked at me as we were getting ready for the snap, and I wish I had this visual. I wish I had a photograph of his eyes and how they kind of rolled before as we were lining up. And I cannot repeat what he said to me, but it went through, and it was a pretty cool moment.
41-yard attempt. Signals being called. The snap from Kinchin, put down by Walter. The kick by Vinatieri is up, and it is good. It is good with 4 seconds remaining in the fourth quarter. The Patriots have taken a 32-29 lead.
Deion Brandt's Louisville. Adam Vinatieri, man. You can't. It's so many words, man. You can just speak about this guy. He's so clutch. When we needed him, he came through for us at all times. Everybody just had to do their jobs. I know everybody's like, oh man, that little macho that you all say all the time. It's a cliche, but it's the truth, man. If Deion just do what he's supposed to do every play, Troy do what he's supposed to do, Tom do what he's supposed to do, the front line, Antoine in the backfield, David Gibbons at the other receiver position, David Patton, if everybody just do what they're supposed to do, just do their jobs, we'll be fine.
The guy that's got ice water in his veins. He's able to just keep himself in rhythm and calmness and execute the kick. Now credit goes to Brian Kinchin and also to Ken Walter, who did their part getting the snap there and getting the hold.
Karen Garigian.
It looked like it was going to be a blowout, and it looked like it was going to be a kind of a walk in the park. But those Panthers, Delhomme was such a gritty player, and they kept coming back, and they kept coming back. Some bigger teams, it's almost like Davy and Goliath. And maybe if you keep poking at the beast, the beast will fall. And my sense was, Goliath didn't fall. They hung just as tough. And once again, Adam Vinatieri put one through the uprights and in the closing seconds. And they had their second Super Bowl.
All right, Adam into the football. He kicks it end over end. Coming down to Smart at the 3, to the 5, to the 10, right to the 15, to the 20. He is hit. He is down. It is over. We're Super Bowl champions again. Patriots 32, Carolina 29.
With the win, the Patriots secured their second title in 3 seasons, providing validation that the program they had been building since 2000 was bearing real, sustainable fruit. The Patriots were no longer happy to have won. They were starting to expect it every time they took the field.
A second championship in 3 years, It doesn't happen often, especially in this era of the NFL with free agency and then teams changes. I think it just shows what type of football players we have. I think the Super Bowl a couple years ago was a breakout party, but now we're proving that we're a dominant team with a very good football players on it.
Scott Pioli.
Nothing will ever be like the first. That's for sure. After the 01 championship year and winning the Super Bowl, I remember Bill and I felt like we were so far behind, and we spent the entire trip back planning who we were going to expose to the expansion list, the expansion draft, and we, for the first time, we felt like we were 5 or 6 weeks behind everybody else. And then the next year, we don't make the playoffs. This year, when we win it the second time, there's almost this, I don't know, we know how bad it could go, meaning not making the playoffs necessarily. There was like this defiance of, we are not going to the playoffs next year. It was, we have a good team, but this team isn't good enough, because this team isn't going to be as good. If you stay pat, no pun intended, you're not going to be as good the next year. Everyone else is getting better. You better get better. So there was this moment, yes, we enjoyed it, but there was also this moment, I don't know if defiance is the right word, but it was like, okay, we got to get to work.
Tedy Bruschi, Arizona. Yeah, I think especially during that 21-game win streak that was there, you really learned to suppress success. And that sucks, really, to do that, because you really don't live in your successes basically until you retire. And I think that's what truly great players and teams and professionals do, is you never focus on any type of championship or accomplishment that you've ever had until you've been retired, and you can finally look back and say, man, we were pretty good. We were, but we just didn't do that. We didn't do that in terms of, we learned about 01 and the mentality we had in 02, 03, the winning that we had, and then realizing that putting every victory behind us, even if it was a Super Bowl, really preparing for a Super Bowl like it was a regular season game, or vice versa. I think you start to learn how to do that. And, it's a tough way to live. It's a tough way to live and not appreciate your success in the moment, but it's something you have to do if you want to keep winning.
Dan Copen, center.
You're so new to it. You don't really know. You don't have, first game, first snap, you snap it and the nerves go, right? And that's usually how it goes. That's how it was basically from my first game on, but not the Super Bowl. I mean, that's just a different game. I think my hand was shaking for 10 minutes, well into the second quarter. Wow. So that game gets to you. But I remember at the rookie symposium, someone got up on stage and was just like, take a look around. It's all the rookies that got drafted. Just take a look around. One of this, groups, you sit as a team, one of these teams is going to walk away with like Super Bowl rings. And looking back on it after that year is like, holy crap. We were the ones that were able to walk away with Super Bowl rings. You realize how special it is.
This team's met all comers this year, 15 straight. And there have been some heart attacks, but they've come out on top. They deserve all the credit in the world. These guys are champions.
Deion Branch, Louisville. We needed Green Bay to beat the Jets to get in the playoffs. That's such a horrible feeling. You sitting here basing your whole playoffs and your run based on this team winning or losing. How about you just go out and take advantage of it yourself? So right away, our off-season program, we had 100%, including Mr. Brady. Tom's in the building. Everybody was in the building starting late February, early March. It was 100%. It wasn't 100% my rookie season. That second year, 100%. The third year was 100%. Going into the fourth year was 100%. That was the thing that sticks out the most for me, looking back at the offseason program, the mini camps. Then we get into training camp, and now preseason, regular season, and then the playoffs. I think those are the things that stuck out to me.
Paul Perillo.
I just think that they were a lot like 01. I think they were better talent-wise, and I think that the reason they were better is because guys like Richard Seymour and Matt Light that were just kids in 01, it sort of matured into, Seymour especially. He was a dominant player by the time he's in his third year. So I just thought their toughness exceeded their talent level. So I think there was some similarities to 01 in that way, but the 03 team was just better. And what I remember most is just lock it down. I think there was a rainy game against the Giants where, in the first quarter, there were a couple of scoop and score. The game's over. The game was over because, the other team can play all day in this environment, in these conditions. They're not scoring 14 points. And you just knew, like, the game was over. And that was my lasting impression of the 2003 team, is don't fall behind them because you're not going to win if you do.
Christian Fourier, University of Colorado. It's the locker room. It's the relationships. It's the players. You hear tons of guys. They all try to find the right mix of guys that are all kind of collectively agreeing and seeing things the same way and committing themselves to achieving the same things. Every team I've ever been a part of. Now, I've won a championship in high school, won a national championship. I was a freshman in Colorado, a national championship there. I won 2 here, and they all had the same thing in common. Every single team had the same thing in common. It was the locker room. It was the guys. It was the culture. It was the shared opinion of what it took, what everybody was willing to go to do to get those things. That, to me, will never change, ever. That more than anything stands out to me.
Nick Fitzy Stevens.
The 2003 season to me was the Patriots making their mark and saying their greatness was not a fluke, that it was here to stay. And when I think back on that season, that's 2001 can almost still be looked at like, wow, I don't know how they did that, but it's pretty amazing that they did.
Are we still on the air?
Yeah, we are, but we can celebrate. We are the champions. We are the champions.
2003, this told you the Patriots were great, and the Patriots were here to stay for a long, long time. That, to me, was the stamping of greatness of Brady and Belichick as the greatest QB coach combo in NFL history.
2 Super Bowl championships in 3 years for the Patriots. And they are now the dominant team in the NFL of the brand new century. 2 Super Bowls this century.
Karen Guregian.
Their defense was so good and so tough to beat throughout that season, with the exception maybe of the first game, that I think that was more their signature. But you also saw the signs that Tom Brady was coming along, and that, at some point, there were games, I think, during the season where he had to pull them out a few times. So, again, you're starting to see signs of this young quarterback emerging as something more than a game manager.
The Super Bowl MVP, once again, it's Tom Brady.
Matt Chatham.
I really have fond memories that year just because, the camaraderie, we the whole backer hood thing. I mean, this is when that stuff really started to grow. We had just an incredibly strong group of guys in there. I look at it now, years and years later, and there's no Derek Thomas or, I'm trying to think of a name that would be like an over the top, like Lawrence Taylor. There's not like a slam dunk gold jacket guy in the room necessarily, but I'd say from top to bottom quality, there were so many good players in the room. Everyone was really good at what they did. Just the top to bottom joy of being a part of that group is something that I'll probably cherish forever.
Scott Pioli.
I think what stands out is what we talked about at first, was how we thought we had a good team. We thought we were going to be a good team. We had some really incredible people. And then how things went right out of the gate. And it kind of branded us, right? In a way that stung, and that stayed with us. And I think what sticks out to me about that team is how much growth we had over the course of the season, and how everyone knew, because of game one, what the other side could look like. And it was validation of some of the work that we had put into our process and our systems of not just on game day, but preparation, player acquisition, player development. It was just this, the second win was this feeling of validation that wasn't final, because we had become a little obsessive at that point in time, that, we're winning back. We never said back to back, but anything less than a championship was now, after 2 and 3 years, was going to be unacceptable.
To Bob Kraft, to you and your family, to Coach Belichick and all of your players,
congratulations on your second Super Bowl victory in 3 years. 15 wins in a row. It's hard to top that. Here's the Vince Lombardi Trophy number 2.
This has been 2003, the Super Sequel, part of the Super Bowl Sound Odyssey series, produced by Patriots.com's Mike Dussault and audio engineer Matt Morrell. We wish to thank all of our guests for sharing their memories from the unforgettable season and providing a fresh perspective on the Patriots' second championship. And of course, a huge thanks to you, our listeners and members of Patriots Nation who have passionately supported the team since long before they were winning championships. We hoped you enjoyed reliving the thrilling ride with all of its twists and turns 2 decades later. Thank you for listening, and coming in 2025, stay tuned for our 3rd installment of the Super Bowl Sound Odyssey series. 2004, yes, it's a dynasty.